After Dark, starring John and Danny.
And I'm talking right away. It's amazing. Oh, Daddy, you're uncomfortably close to me. I love it. Guys, welcome to Grim After Dark. Why I have a tiny Daddy on my shoulder. I love that. This is my name is John, and this is the literal Seinfeld of the Warhammer community. A show about nothing where we recap the last week in the Warhammer world with the best players and content creators from around the world. Tonight, Chaos players have been stereotyped as the whiniest player base. And then that's all I really want to say about that. No, with expectations so high for their faction that simply showing a Chaos model should cause all of your opponent's dice to roll ones in fear. But Mike Pestilence from Warhammer is here to give us the straight talk on Chaos. Before we get going today, guys, FLG full color terrain is back in limited quantities. As we continue to work through the challenges of slowed supply chains and the lack of repair parts for manufacturing equipment, we wanted to give all of you a chance to get some of the highly sought after FLG full color terrain. And in order to do that, all we can do to meet demand, we are offering a limited number of the full color sets each Monday. That's today. Along with this comes a 15% discount on any Frontline gaming mats you purchase, along with the full color terrain set. These are likely to sell out quickly, so be sure to act quick. This week is the FLG full color Gothic terrain set. This terrain looks amazing, better than pro painted. It's going to impress anyone in the tabletop and get you more time to paint your armies rather than your terrain. It's great stuff. My co-host today needs some introduction. I mean, we already saw him earlier. Here's my little parrot on the shoulder, and producer Val, we could just make it his permanent position. That would be fantastic. He's the terror of the mid-tables and the man who puts the word distraction into Carnifex. It's Danny McDivett.
Hey, John. Great to be here. I tried to give you a little bit of like devil on one shoulder, angel on the other, but Val screwed up the other.
You're like the middle-aged mom where like I could be your devil or your angel, except it's just on one shoulder there. I think, and again, this is fun inside baseball. My favorite bit so far in this past months we've been doing this was seeing our producer like fist punch there, like yeah, when the transition worked perfectly. It's great. My super favorite thing. Danny, so much news from the last week. What are you excited to talk about today?
John, there's so many things, right? Like, I mean, we're looking at first of all, I'm excited to talk about some of the reviews that we have on here tonight. From some of our more active listeners, or maybe less active listeners. I'm eager to Ennis Wilson a little bit.
Guys,
and
this show has everything.
Of course, I'm excited about this the Seinfeld meme for this week, of course.
Yeah. Guys, the show has everything. I put a Seinfeld meme back in, the request of Danny. We're going to fuck Ennis Wilson, which we haven't done in months out of respect, where he's like, stop using me for content. We're like, okay. We're going to look at some reviews people have left for the show. That's literally everything. And we're again talking to Mike Pestilence. Danny, let's waste no more time. Introduce this week's guest who's going to help us go through the last week in Warhammer, as well as maybe correct or reinforce some stereotypes from the world of Chaos.
That's me.
If you could also introduce the guest, that would be
sure.
Great.
Okay, cool, John. So tonight we're getting Mike straight from warphammer.com to come on or warphammer.com. I'm so sorry. To
Did
give
you
us
say
the lowdown.
Warphammer?
Yeah, Warped Hammer. That's a totally different thing, isn't it? I'm sorry. Yeah, I was close, right, Mike? I was close. You know what? I'm freaking trying over here.
Danny, you're doing just as well as I expected.
Okay, thank you. That is about as much of a compliment as I deserve.
Yeah,
totally
so excited to be here, guys.
Yeah,
so
great to
Alaska on.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the Alaska connection strong today. Awesome to have you here, as always. We're going to start this week with one of the best players in the UK, Ennis Wilson, who celebrated winning the Manchester GT with his Tyranid list. Of course, I celebrated with my fellow countrymen the only way I knew how, through sarcasm, letting him know that clowns continue to win tournaments, which was, I thought, a pretty funny joke. I got there. Of course, Ennis is a consummate professional who ignored my mean-spirited dig with the simple question of, oh, cool, what did you win this weekend? The answer is nothing, and I think you know that, Ennis. This is, for both of you guys, though, Have you ever had a joke blow up in your face on the table or sort of related to the game there? We can start with you here, Danny, then we'll move across the mic.
No, John, all my jokes land 100%. Sorry, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Flawless professional. Love it. Good time. Mike, is that anything kind of, have you ever said anything table side where you're like, oh no, why did that happen?
Well, the issue is when I play, I'm very self-deprecating, both about like how the game's going. I'm always like, oh, the game's going the worst. Like there's no way I can come back and win. And then when I win, I feel like a real dick. I feel like I've misled them or something. I spent the entire game making self-deprecating jokes and managed to win. So that counts as blowing up, right?
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, and that's definitely a danger when you're like, oh man, this is a really tough, I don't know if I'm going to win this. And it at the time you're trying to kind of put them at ease and have that good experience. But afterwards, it just like, oh no, this was not hard at all. Danny, of course, your massive ego doesn't let you have conversations like that. How does it feel for you when someone is really like your opponent is like really self-depreciating the whole time and then just and it does happen, whoop your ass?
What are you talking about? That's never even happened to me once. So
I believe that's happened 1 or 2 times.
No, I'm immune to loss.
Oh, fair enough. I do want to say my answer to Innes, of course, when he asked what I won, was impeccable as always. Yeah, COVID. I won COVID the weekend. He was asking about 2 weeks ago. I won that. See if you can tell what episode. By the way, I was neck deep in the symptoms. It's pretty obvious. I was not good and worse than usual for those who don't like us.
Yeah. Hey, hold on a second here, John.
Yo.
Let's talk about ego. Are we? What was this? A review of your Twitter feed? Is that what we're using for material tonight?
Yeah, I mean it's been a slow news week. Like nothing's happened. I just wanted to make that really good joke and get a little bit maybe sympathy 5-star reviews on iTunes. We're streaming with diseases.
Well, your voice sounds great today.
It does. It's all past. It's all good now. Lots of great mom jokes on the chat, by the way. Thank you so much. I'm gonna not read these so Tyler doesn't have to edit out a whole section, but thank you for that. I don't want to make a Will Smith moment and have Innes give me a well-deserved slap, but I do want to point out that his first-round opponent at the Manchester GT was legendary singer Michael Bolton, playing with Necrons. So, you got to think that that's a little bit of a gimme round, but a beautiful voice nonetheless. Hey, guys, the Horus Heresy is back. That's it for my Twitter feed this week, by the way. We're going to go back to like actual news items and not just people saying that I'm bad at the game. That's not news. The Horus Heresy is back, and we're so excited about it. Danny, I pulled out all the stops with a Seinfeld-inspired meme. And then, Mike, if you haven't caught the show here before, Danny's favorite thing to do is literally just explain what a Seinfeld meme is to like the season and episode detail.
I mean, we talked about the Kenny Rogers Roasters episode already a little bit. But this, of course, is from that. That's where this meme is derived. But this also references an event in Warhammer 40,000 history called the Horus Heresy. If you're not familiar with that, like check it out sometime. The series of books is all right. But it helped to shape the 41st millennium. And so here...
So did you say the 50 epic story trilogy or story of the Horus Heresy is just all right?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
5 stars.
It's cool. Yeah, I would give it like 3.
3 out of 5. A lot of filler.
3 out of 5. Read it if you want. It's pretty good. Well, no, it's fine.
It's
fine.
Every other book's really good.
Yeah, there you go. That's the right answer. See, and that's like, and I'm giving it 3 out of 5 because the books that are good are real good. But the books that aren't are like, written by James Swallow.
Well, now we have to read book next week's guest, Danny. Thanks a lot.
Great. I can't wait to read Nemesis.
I think everyone can. Mike, to bring you in here a little bit, this great subversion of that Will Smith meme that's been going on is another little bit of lore. As we have Danny again, I want you to explain everything here. What's going on with this image that we're seeing here?
All right, so Chris Rock, I think it was this weekend or last week, was slapped by Will Smith for making an alopecia joke. Now, I don't ever condone physical violence, but at some point you have to realize that your words have consequences. So this slap may or may not have been deserved. I mean, we'll leave that up to you. I think legally speaking, probably. It probably is an actionable offense. I think he could be sued. But hey, I don't know, it might be Criminal. I'm not really sure. I haven't finished Criminal Law yet. But this meme references that the Emperor's children, despite being a Chaos faction, have decided to keep the Emperor's name, and so referencing that, the Black Templars as devout Emperorists. I don't know what is that right? Yeah, they don't like that they're calling themselves.
Slap the taste out of their mouth for that. Keep that name out of your mouth. You're welcome, Tyler.
I will say, if there's any legion that wants to be slapped, I mean, that's really bad choice for the name.
Yeah, that's a win-win for them, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm going to call it myself even harder. So, Mike, for those watching, listening here, and by the way, fantastic start to the show, guys, where we just look at pictures and then describe them, just as our producer said.
It's important for our podcast listeners, John.
Riveting audio content for the future. Will Smith jokes. Why did the Emperor's Children keep that name? You're an Emperor's Children player. We're asking the questions here that matter. Why did they keep that name? Why didn't they change it to, I don't know, Slaaneash's Butt Monkeys?
You know, I used to know that. And I just spent so much time reading the stratagem section of Faith and Fury that I've forgotten everything else Emperor's Children related. If it's not in the stratagem description text, I don't know it at this point.
Big thanks to GW for not putting that much fluff in their stratagems. Obviously, it's a losing business strategy here. Danny, do you know why?
Honor the Prince.
Yeah, Danny, go ahead. Yeah.
You read Honor the Prince real well for a long time. Danny, do you know why that is there?
Why what?
Why are they so called Emperor's Children?
I think
it's because they're a massive disappointment to their father.
John, I think it's mockery.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they like to go into battle literally yelling like "for the Emperor, death to his foes." They've got a good sense of humor.
it's all irony.
Slaanesh is famous for that, actually. I don't know if you knew that. He's the god of jokes.
Dry sense of humor. Because of all the moistness elsewhere. So shock. Anyway, moving on. Coming out of the Warhammer Plus arena, with rumors that the studio that was making the Exodite is actually no longer working on the project anymore. And this kind of works between the thing here, where there's the rumors of tension between the animators and GW and kind of the things between that there. This has been seen by some to be a sign of GW's continued wars with the animators they've hired. What are your guys' takes on not only the Warhammer Plus content that we've seen, and also kind of what it means for the future of Warhammer animation in general, starting with you, Danny?
Not good, John. I hope we don't end up with Ultramarine because of this.
Or Ultramarine 2. This time they walk further. Mike, have you had a chance to check out any of the Warhammer Plus content yet?
All I've checked out is the internet reviews of those. So from those, I'm not getting a great impression.
Okay. So what are some of the things that, if you were to construct like an episode of Hammer and Bolter, which, by the way, AOS people are very upset that there's no hammers and lots of bolters. Bolter and Bolter. What is kind of that average episode of Hammer and Bolter to you?
I'd love to see stuff focusing on each of the Chaos Gods, just like a day in the life of a Khorne Berserker. I want to see how they sleep. I want to see how they get up. Like, at what point during the day do they start feeling angry? Do they wake up angry? Or do they wake up and try to like tie their shoes and they can't do it because their hands are too shaking, and then they just get furious the rest of the day?
Every little thing just frustrates them. So like
exactly.
They pour the milk into their cereal and it splashes over a little bit, and it's just 5 minutes of screaming.
Yeah, exactly. Just like snapping utensils while they're eating. Just
they're like the old Rick and Morty. I don't know if you guys heard of Rick and Morty. It's the show. Like, you need to be like a little bit of a higher IQ to really understand a lot of the depth and nuance of the jokes.
I heard that.
One of them turned himself into a pickle. Funny I
ever saw, yeah.
But there was one episode where like they moved to a planet where the sun screamed the entire time, and that's sort of how I imagine your Khorne Berserker's day. That he just wakes up screaming, and then screams all day through the most mundane tasks, and then just falls to the wayside there. Danny, what do you see as sort of being the future of Warhammer Plus, or kind of where do you think it's going?
I mean, I don't think it's going anywhere. Their IP is too valuable to kind of just give up on something that's uses it that much. I mean, I think that I don't think the like one show maybe being canceled is like indicative of an entire series not or like the entirety of Warhammer Plus like going away. I think that's kind of a silly conclusion to draw.
Yeah, to be fair, and then just referencing the chat here, someone said 5 minutes of screaming sounds like Danny's finishing move, to which I respond, that would be just you screaming when he keeps beating you. And in Twitter news, this person here was saying, still misses Stardays, but I see what you did here at Warhammer Official. About time too, your animations looked very dated by at least 20 plus years. Which is just a giant sort of insult to him, especially when we consider that I found this picture of an animation from 20 years ago. Let me tell you, Warhammer Plus looks better than this. That's from 2002's Ice Age, which, of course, high quality animation there. So while it's, I would say maybe 10 years old, maybe not 20 years old, go with Ice Age. 2002 was a banner year for animation. Danny, help us out with this one here. Lead us through this next picture we're going to look at. The category I put this under is, why does this exist?
Dude, I don't know. Weaves and like, it's terrible.
So just for people who got past all those beeps there from Danny's statement, what we're looking at here is someone has designed and 3D printed themselves an avatar of Cain. Maybe some gender swapping went on, maybe some unrealistic proportions right there on that model. I think it's the politest way I can put it.
Do you think the avatar is gender? I don't know. Is Cain a guy?
That's true. It's kind of our assumption that Cain's been. I feel like every third party made, it's just they can't resist. There's a certain aesthetic they just need to get in there.
Guys, I was going to say
War Games exclusive, right? Like to the max. Like
I was saying here, it was like this is something we've seen for a while with sort of the sexualization of factions, to the point where like we've even seen like a big titty Necron Lord. Why do you think this keeps happening? And starting with you, Mike, why do people see like things like, yeah, I could strap boobs onto you?
I'm trying to think what I'm allowed to say here. I think that people they want to express certain interest in the hobby, and obviously GW is never going to print a big titted Necron warrior, for better or worse. Just to clarify, much for better.
I think Warhammer was for everyone, Mike.
Yeah. I figured after the Slanesh refresh, like a couple of years ago, I think they made for Sigmar with like the new keepers and stuff. We only got one boob per model. So if you really want 2 boobs per model, you really have to go third party.
Or alternatively, buy 2 keepers of Sigmar.
The world's most expensive kit bash. Plus side 1, I know who to stay away from in tournaments when I see armies now.
That is true.
And yeah, 2. I'm not going to do that. I'll tell you guys that joke later, but it's something that wouldn't really land. It's a good time. We'll move on. We'll move on. Adapticon news keeps on coming with some Age of Sigmar drama, Danny, that we were talking about earlier in the week here. Fresh off declaring that they don't use pairing software like the most excellent Best Coast pairings due to round delays seen by the frustrating Best Coast pairings of 2020 and earlier. Let me tell you, there was no way anything could possibly go wrong. But nothing could go wrong only doing pen and paper pairings, right, Danny?
Yeah. I love the jaunty angle that picture was set at, because it really sets the tone as being mocking as it should be for this email that was sent out. So I appreciate our producer Val presenting it in the light that it deserves to be delivered.
No, Mike, I know Adapticon is kind of like a casual event. Age of Sigmar, of course, the most balanced game in the world right now, where everyone's riding a dragon. But what is sort of your opinion on kind of what happened here? Like, I don't know if you're aware, like they gave this girl Emma first place. You did always, and then they emailed her the next day to be like, "Yeah, we got our math wrong. You didn't win. Sorry." Like, what's your take on that?
I think ultimately, it's definitely unfair to the person that was awarded the trophy, but at the same time, it's also unfair to the person that got second. I think just whatever you do, you just have to be extremely apologetic. Like, I really have no issue with either person being given the like first place or trophy or award, but you just have to like acknowledge like you really screwed up there. You got to be super apologetic. I will say there's a silver. Go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. I said, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a similar situation. There's a large tournament held in Las Vegas. I'm not going to name, where had a great time. Was the top ranked cast Space Marine player, but just because they realized the faction rankings, they just looked by the listed cast Space Marine instead of Emperor's Children, so it wasn't caught at first, and that's totally fine. Like it happens, it's just a game. You have to handle it with class, but at the same time, yeah, the TO has to acknowledge that hey, we made a mistake.
And did the TO of that small time Las Vegas event acknowledge that they made the mistake on your behalf there?
To be honest, I really don't remember a lot about what happened that evening, so I'm going to go no comment on that one. Yeah, Wallace and I had a really good time in Vegas that evening.
Man, I had a rough night the first night too. I get it.
Yeah, he was floored by some of those reveals. GW, guys, GW can't turn the faucet off as the Tyranid Codex has been fully leaked for a while now. And now we have commentators asking things like asking GW specifically serious questions. A lot of us are asking. The Tyranid Codex has been leaked for over a week. There are YouTube channels that cover the whole Codex, and people have even done battle reports with it now. Why are you waiting for a release of a book most of us already know all the rules for? Why not just launch it now? Mike, do you think GW is going to get control of its leaker? Because it does seem to be someone internal based on the quality of the releases.
Yeah, and so Danny and John, I'd love to hear your thoughts. But to be honest, I'm not a big fan of whatever the leaker is doing, because all it's doing is damaging the people with relationships with GW, because now they don't have the same level of trust. It's one of those things like, hey, you're going to get some internet likes, you're going to get some internet comments, like big congrats. You're damaging like people's professional relationships. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Oh man, I have lots of thoughts.
Danny, go. Yeah.
First of all, I don't know who this leaker is or anything like that, but what a load of garbage! Like that this person has decided that it's okay to just totally break whatever NDA they have and release all this stuff. Like there's a lot of people that produce content, and that content is effectively ruined before it's even released. Like the whole point of being able to preview this stuff and analyze it is so that you can put out some content with a review of this product, so that's new and gets people excited about it. It ruins all the hype and everything else that builds for this product. I think that's really important, because like it might be leaked months before it's actually released, right? And so like people are just waiting for this stuff like to come around, and like I think ultimately this actively decreases sales for Games Workshop. So not only does it hurt the people that are making content, I feel like it hurts the company itself in a lot of ways, because why would I buy the product when I can simply download these pictures online of images of this codex that's coming out in 2 months or whatever. So I just it's super frustrating to me as somebody who does do like content reviews and that kind of thing. It definitely devalues my product. It devalues Games Workshop product, and like it screws up all the articles that they have leading up to this. Because I mean, who wants to read an article about how cool Hormagaunts are when we all knew what Hormagaunts did like a month ago? That's just, I don't know.
All I know as kind of a content creator along with Daddy here is I love abandoning my family on a Friday evening to sit and record 2 hours worth of conversation, spend another hour editing it together, 2 hours uploading it and releasing it on time to make sure that we're giving GW the value that they deserve for sending us this stuff to review, but then realizing that no one's going to watch it because, it all leaked a month ago. So from like a selfish perspective there, I hate that part of it. And then to more of what you guys were saying there, it takes a lot of the fun out of it there. And then it muddies all kinds of waters. Be like, yeah, Tyranid Codex has been out for a month. Like, yeah, can we use these rules? No, there's not a book. Right. But again, my kind of feelings on it are very personal and selfish, where like I want to make these videos to review these things, but what kind of motivation do I have to do a Codex review of Codex Tyranids right now? There's very little for me to do that.
And it's also tough for players playing at the time, because like a lot of the units play completely different. Like a Maliceptor in the new Codex is a very different beast than one of the old Codex. So it's tough because you're seeing like all those reviews of the new, or not like discussion of the new book, and you're getting the table, you have an idea of what it's going to do, and you're like, oh wait, it's still a month till the Codex actually comes out. If you prepare for this old Codex, you're not going to be reading about the stratagems, reading about how to counter them. So it leaves players attending tournaments in the middle in kind of like this weird area, because if you don't play the army, now you're all like confused about what's going on. It's just it's a tough situation.
And ninth has seen massive changes for how armies function and how they're constructed. So if you have access to the rules for your army a good 6 to 8 weeks before it's released, that's going to actively disincentivize you from attending tournaments and going to events, because why would I want to play with the old crappy 8th edition rules when I can just wait and play with the 9th edition ones whenever that might come out? Yeah. So I don't think it's a good thing. A lot of people do. A lot of people are saying the other thing here, that they should just keep asking them until they get annoyed and release it, which seems terrible. I guarantee whoever's at the end of that email chain that you're sending to Games Workshop, it's an intern, probably like earning like $6 an hour to respond, like, yeah, I love Warhammer, let's share my love. Oh, it's just a bunch of violent hate. So someone said here, I've tested harassing GW and it works. So saying this will do nothing is totally wrong. So congratulations, person on Facebook. You harassed an intern so much, they just yelled back, I don't care, and typed something in there. And I don't think the harassment works. I just think that's the release schedule. You don't change a multinational, like, $1 million company's release schedule because you said mean things to them via email.
Guys, yeah, the logistics alone of that are like, that's asinine. What a silly statement.
This hot take, Mike, is that there's one button at GWHQ for every release. Like, oh, press the turn it button, I guess. And boop.
Every store has just Tyrannus Codex just out the back, just waiting.
Yeah,
like, hey,
they've had it for months, man.
Yeah.
The Chaos Codex, of course, is encased in glass and buried in cement, and all that other kind of stuff. They're right beside its second.
Open only in emergencies for Chaos Space Marines.
with like an asterisk beside it that says there are never any emergencies. Guys,
the news players. Just the record, when you made a comment about how, oh man, Tyrannus players, who would want to play with a crappy old 8th edition Codex? We have a 9th edition Codex coming up. I'm like, we'll talk about that one after the show, John. I've been for a year and a half now. Because here's the thing, right? At this point, like, it went through a period of being annoying, and it's back to being funny. I'm like, I'm still playing an 8th edition Codex, and like, it's like there's freaking 90-point Void Weavers running around, and I'm running like a book that came out 5 years ago. It's actually funny these days. It's not annoying anymore. It's genuinely not annoying. It's back to funny.
Jumping into chat here, we're going to touch on these a little bit here. They're saying squats dropping before CSM got a second wound. How's that for a meme? Oh, do I have thoughts on this? 1, squats didn't drop. A single picture of one model with a very stylish haircut dropped. 2, they said it's not going to be a full army and it's going to be like towards the end of the year. And 3, the people telling me, squats came before Chaos got 2 wounds, are the people trying to tell me when the Chaos release date is going to be for the Codex from the same news site, and it's before squats. We'll get onto those later. Anyway, some more Age of Sigmar-ish stuff, like kind of 40k adjacent. Copyright. A new Slayer Sword champion was crowned a Golden Demon in 2022, and people weren't happy. As it says here, so this year's Slayer Sword, which by the way is a beautiful skink, winner was a surprise for me. No OSL, no freehand, no extravagant base, no creative use of color theory, no custom sculpted parts. So what did he do that got him the Slayer Sword that we are lacking? Guys, Mike, what's your thoughts on this? For me, this is a stunningly painted miniature that I can't tell is painted, with great color blending and great use of color. What is your thoughts on this skink here?
Yeah, John, I'm right there with you. It's one of those things where I think the big Sigvald was the big comparison. I think it finished second. It was just this beautifully painted mini. The non-metallic metal was just out of this world. But it was very clearly painted in the sense you look at it, you're like, this is a painted miniature. And you look at the skink, it just looks so natural. And there's a lot of value to that. And honestly, I almost feel like the Sigvald was more like painted for painters, whereas the skink is more painted for like how you use a mini on the tabletop. Like, it doesn't distract from the experience. It's just, if you look at it, it's beautiful. It also fits right in. I mean, they're both amazing minis, though. I saw a lot of the internet anger on this was like way over the top for like a genuinely brilliantly painted mini. Like, they were acting like it was garbage. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, and I guarantee weeks were spent on this guy here. Danny, you made mention that throughout what you saw in the competition for Golden Demon, there wasn't a lot of conversions. There wasn't a lot of kind of extra things there. What are your thoughts on kind of this new direction for Golden Demon?
So I'm totally pro this, right? Like, I think that it's I think it's good for a representation of their miniatures. Like if they're going to run this painting contest, I think it's totally okay for them to kind of gravitate more towards unaltered miniatures rather than like rather than basing this on like how good someone's conversion work is. Oh man. And I love this Sigvald model like more than basically anything else. I think it is one of the most beautiful miniatures I've ever seen, and highlights how good Games Workshop's miniature design actually is. Like the balance of this miniature, like the base isn't overly extravagant. Amazing.
Can I give a critique of this compared to the first one, compared to the skink, and what I think actually cost it wasn't the non-metallic metals. It was the fact that the base and the miniature blended together color-wise. The base didn't make the miniature stand out, and kind of vice versa. Whereas with the skink, he was very vibrant, and the miniature was the focus point, where he kind of, Sigvald, beautifully done, he kind of gets lost in the base a little bit.
I mean, that's an opinion.
Like, not a right one, but it's an opinion.
It's an opinion. Yeah, I said what I said.
But again, it's a fantastic model. But again, Danny, you just pointed out mine. Speaking of bad takes, Mike, I can't wait to go. Oh, and then actually, we're gonna get a side by side here of Sigvald and the skink, and kind of. I feel I have a good take on this thing.
No, and I don't think you're wrong. Like, I don't think that you're entirely wrong, right? I think that there is, if you look at like the Sigvald miniature, like with the exception of underneath the cloak, which is like kind of that nice warm red color, it's a really cold miniature. Like there's not a lot of super bright colors, and the base is also gray, whereas the skink is mostly blue, and blue is traditionally a pretty cold color there. But it has these nice, warm, vibrant tones, like with the feathers, and then also the base is nice and warm. It's kind of got that nice gray brown with kind of like some warm grass and that kind of stuff. I mean, it looks more natural in that respect. So, I mean, I understand why the skink won. I think the color theory choices are better in that miniature over like Sigvald. I just think Sigvald is painted better.
Yeah, fair. And again, lots of comments from the chat here letting me know that was too deep for me. Guys, I don't always throw bad questions over with poor opinions about Warhammer. Occasionally I have one or two deep thoughts. Sorry, Mike, you were going to say something there.
No, I was just going to say, it's kind of like for people that are big fans of classic rock and things like that. Like a lot of like the guitar aficionados will be like, oh, this like super complicated guitar solo is like the greatest song of all time. But people like Smoke on the Water, you know, just a simple thing done really, really, really well. So it's just, again, it's just different strokes, different folks.
Perfect. Guys, speaking of bad takes, I'm not saying that your take was bad, Mike, saying my take was bad. That was a terrible segue this time. Never mind. This comment here kind of caught my eye from Facebook. Dear GW, let the community write the Chaos Codex. At least the basic structure. You can keep the money for our work. One, this is probably not the best idea, but Mike, what is your ideal Chaos Space Marine Codex?
I feel like if I say anything besides a rewrite of the 3.5 edition Codex, like Chaos fans are going to just jump all over me. Like, this is a loaded question, John. You have set me up for failure right here. Danny, I need some time to think. Danny, please.
Okay. Danny, of course, you know, Mike with his warphammer.com blog is very invested in Chaos as an army. Danny, you have every army that you're very invested in. Sure. What do you want to see for your ideal Chaos Codex?
John, I want to see a complete rewrite of the Chaos 3.5 Codex.
Oh, man. Chat letting us know spiky bits are back. No, we're not making entire guesses about it.
Hit roll. Hell yeah, let's do it.
We're not going to say we hate the entire range based off of our own opinion of what something is going to be.
Well,
Mike?
I think what fans really want is customization. Like, I want marks to mean something. Like, I want a mark to be a valuable thing. I want icons to mean something. I want characters to get really cool upgrades. I want, like, demon princes to just have, like, options out the ass. I want to be able to do crazy things with demon princes.
Well, and that's the thing with 3.5, right? Is that, like,
yes,
that was a book of options. Like, the whole thing was options and customization, and people loved that, right? Like, you could do so many different things with the units, like, and that's what Chaos should be, right? Your army should be very individual, very unique. Like, yeah, I think that's just a general statement of what people want out of a Chaos book.
Yeah,
because I will say right now with the current Chaos book, and then back over to you here, Mike, it feels very clinical, right? The units are there, there's some strats, we have some like things that sort of work, but it doesn't feel overly sort of unique, like I'm leading my warband. It's just sort of like, this is the Chaos Army, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And part of it is too because of how, like, the marks don't really give you any benefits. They just give you restrictions. Like, okay, I didn't give them this mark, so they can't do this cool thing. Like, I want to sit down and have a unit of, like, Terminators, for example. I don't want to think, like, oh, they have to be Slaanesh to get this benefit. I want to be like, oh, if I get Slaanesh, I get this benefit. But, oh, Khorne, I get this benefit. Oh, and Nurgle, I get this benefit. And Tzeentch, I get this benefit. Or Undivided, we just do something just absolutely wild, you know?
Sure.
I want, like, every unit to have, like, every god be viable. I mean, other than, like, okay, Berserkers are always going to be Khorne. But I want to have, like, reasons to run things. Because, again, like, Endless Cacophony, being able to double shoot Slaanesh units is great. Okay, that's really cool, but that means there's absolutely no reason to make my shooting infantry anything besides Slaanesh. And that gets boring after, like, 5 years of the same Codex, guys. Let me tell you.
What are your sort of thoughts of we've heard some rumors and some very salt driven leaks coming out, talking about cult specific troops with other codex. So we're talking about like Rubric Marines, Plague Marines, the rumored Berserkers, being taken out of the main Chaos Space Marine book and just being found in their kind of god specific codexes. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, because if you actually read the lore, like you read like the Black Legion books, like he works with Berserkers. It's not like, oh, they're just world leaders, we can't work together, or he'll work with Thousand Suns, you know? Because I think Chaos, again, is ultimately all about being able to do like this massive sandbox. Like anything you can think of in Chaos is in the lore somewhere and should be possible in the Codex. So it's one of those things where I understand maybe from balance perspective, they don't want to give like 8 attack Berserkers or whatever to like any Legion. But again, just like raise their points, find some way to, some lever to pull. Again, I want Chaos to, like, whatever you can think of, even if it's not very good or point sufficient, I want to be able to put that on the tabletop, you know?
Yeah. What's your number one unit? And we're gonna start here with Mike and go over to Danny. What's your number one Chaos unit you want to see improved in this book?
Oh, see, my first answer I would say Noise Marines, but I think they're already pretty damn good. So I would say probably not Mutilators. Definitely not Mutilators. They can just go disappear. I'm sorry to this.
Mutilators are going the way of the Chaplain Dreadnought, probably, sadly.
Yeah, but I don't want Raptors. I think Raptors are an iconic unit, especially for Night Lords. Or now their main benefit is, oh, they're just cheap. You know, I don't want the unit to just be, oh, they're the cheapest flying thing we can do. I want Raptors to like hit like trucks, have really cool things with like leadership or tying people up. Just get creative, GW. Like, it's an amazing codex, amazing design space. Make things weird.
Yeah, Danny, what about you? What's your number one unit you want to see improve?
Possessed.
Yes.
I want to see Possessed get cool. Like I know that they were a build like for a while, but like a new model kit would go a long way for them. I feel like, because the current one is like, and I would like to see the rules be, I don't want to say more random, but like more customizable. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Sort of like a pregame build your own Possessed rather than kind of what we have now, where you sort of.
And that's how it was in 3.5. You would give them different demonic gifts, and that was the thing that they could do, and that could be represented in, you know, a myriad of different ways, right? Like, I mean, Iron Warriors Possessed had a bunch of cybernetics and things like that, or like they could have jump packs, right, to represent demonic flight, or talons would be represented by a bunch of different things. I don't know. I think there's just a lot of design room to play around with that particular unit.
And I will say, until that point, Galvor back make it very expensive yet very beautiful Possessed. So they're far better than the current sculpts. Hey, Danny, last week we were fairly critical of Mikey from Hellstorm Wargaming and his idea for a comp system for 40k. And to our surprise, either Mikey watches us or one of you guys ratted us out, with Mikey letting us know. And that was answered to me later when I saw the rest of the comments. And one of the comment was, hey, Mikey, 33 minutes and 3 seconds. So good job. You missed most of it. But he did say that it's great that the only critique we gave to the community comp is the Death Guard changes, which was a random user comment. So now that we're looking at this document that the Hellstorm Wargaming put up as sort of a place to generate and keep the community's ideas. Danny, does that change your idea about this document?
No.
It's just a way of like generating content?
No, not even a little bit. Like... The point of so we didn't critique the document itself because the whole concept is stupid. Like nobody wants to go back to comp. Like that's just bad.
Yeah.
Like
Mike, what's your views on comps?
My views, ultimately, again, the fact that you can go anywhere around the world and basically play in the same game, like people don't realize just how valuable that is. Because here's the thing, right? You ask, one of the big reasons people play 40K in the first place is because it's a game played everywhere, basically. Like, again, I moved from the East Coast to Alaska. Bam, I can pick up 40K. It's played the exact same way it was at home. I can make friends. I can carry over the skills and models. Like, if people start fracturing again, and it's like, oh, if I move somewhere or meet someone in a different like online forum, they might play a different game. That's horrible. Like, at that point, just go play a different game. Like 40K is part of the size, is a huge part of the value proposition.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that we say, community comp is hard, and you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. Reese is years removed from the ITC rules comp, and he still has a cartoonishly evil mustache. So make of that what you will. Jenny,
John, with bad style choices. Like that's what that is. It's bad style choices. Like if you're gonna grow the handlebar mustache, like you're gonna be a villain for the rest of your life.
I mean, you could say that, or you could realize that Reese ultimately owns the platform we're on. And it's a very
best mustache I've ever seen.
Yeah, for sure.
Bring it on again. I'll keep talking about the mustache as often as you want.
Danny's hot takes. It's been fired everybody tonight. The boss, everyone. Danny, I have a special one for you though here, as Val actually found my favorite review of all time, is someone lovingly left our show, specifically a review on the Frontline Gaming Network, where we love our 5-star reviews saying we're filler. Let me read this one here for you guys, and Mike, feel free to jump on here too. Grim After Dark, 1 star. Why is this show still on? The last episode spent the first 20 minutes with the hosts trying to outdo each other in obnoxiousness. I hate to leave a review like this. Well, I don't think you do. As I'm sure that they aren't very well paid. But seriously, this show makes every other show on the network seem worse simply by being associated with it. Not sure if the hosts are actively trying to be nearly unlistenable, in which case they are succeeding. Succeeding is something, Val. Or if they just need some actual help from the rest of the FLG network. Danny, before I throw this to you, I will say I did reach out to Paul Murphy from the Thursday show to ask for help. He did let me know that he's really nice to meet a fan. He appreciates me listening. Danny, what is your thoughts on this wonderful review?
I mean, to be honest, they're spot on. Like, I can't even argue with this. Like, it's just a good, accurate review of our content. It's hard to fault somebody for feeling something that's so accurate to the way that we make content here. So I've gone ahead, same as you, John. I reached out to Seth. Meth, and he told me to kick rocks.
Yeah. Yep. I reached out to actually Adam Cavallari as well, and he said who, and what show, and then he agreed to host it for the next 5 years. So we appreciate that.
Yeah. Probably talking to you for an hour too, right?
Yeah. One future segment idea people would love to see is a review of reviews of the show. That'd be really cool.
Oh, man.
Those.
Spicy.
And that's a free idea. You guys can just have that one.
Thanks, man.
We passed our April Fool's episode, but that would have been a great one. We read what people say about us. Guys, I implore you, the loyal Grim After Dark listener audience, to fill our iTunes page with 5-star reviews that are just copy pastes of this text. Just put that in there. The important part, 5 stars. The rest, completely accurate, but we got algorithms. Mike, you've done content creation for a long time. Again, you Warhammer blog, you have your Discord as well. How do you handle kind of being in the spotlight and kind of having people maybe not give you the best feedback to what you're doing?
Honestly, this is the crazy part. I feel like coming in with like Warhammer, the original idea was straight up just create like the website I wish had existed when I got into 40K. And I feel like just with that mindset, like the community has been like weirdly positive. Like when I was first starting, like there were some negative reviews and they would kind of eat at me a little bit. But now like really like the overwhelming amount of feedback is positive by internet standards. And part of it is honestly, you have to remember, like, okay, let me say, like, I'm trying to make this non-specific so no one can figure out exactly what happened.
I'm doing it right now,
But I published basically a guide to playing a certain faction, right? And I posted it on an online website or forum, And one of the reviews, one of the first comments was like, "This is just moronic. Like this guy has no idea what he's talking about." And I played the faction pretty well. I was one of the top ranked ITC players, and I'm not like saying the greatest player in the world, but I have a pretty good guide. And
It's
I'm
because they miscategorized the Space Marines at that Las Vegas event.
Yeah,
That's
I was
why.
actually a top AdMech player, but they confused it with Chaos Space Marines. Easy mistake to make. But I fully admit I'm petty. So I took this person, I took in the ITC rankings, Control F their name, checked, and they'd gone 0-3 at 2 RTTs. They were telling me I had no idea how to play the faction, and I kind of realized it's the internet. Anyone can be making a comment, and it could be completely coming from a place of having no knowledge. And I stopped taking a lot less personally after that.
How many times?
Is that petty? Like, is that petty to do that? I don't know.
How many times did you write that reply to them and then delete it?
Basically none. I just hit block and moved on.
Oh.
That's really one of the secrets to enjoying the internet, is just being able to just hit block and move on.
So for me, like part of the reason like Danny and I's partnership works is because I am an extremely petty person, and Danny, you can confirm this. But instead of like just putting my pettiness out to the world, I just tell Danny what I would do, and then he just laughs, and then I move on, and then I think the world is a nicer place.
Guys, you have no idea how many nuclear nuclear explosions I've diffused by laughing at John's jokes.
It's very.
Can you tell us one of these? Can you tell listeners what John's situation you've diffused?
Yeah. Can I tell a situation where I've diffused? Oh my god!
But no, maybe one recently.
No, honestly, I can't. Like, there's too many other content creators involved here. Like, I don't want to say stuff that's going to get me in trouble. Yeah, but for real, like, there's been quite a few. Let's just put it that way.
Danny, you're like an insanely positive person most of the time, unless we mention people's fashion choices of facial hair, their reviews, or maybe their way of winning Age of Sigmar competitions. How do you react to kind of the feedback you get?
Oh, I don't care. I mean, they're wrong. Like, it's okay. They can have their opinion. Everybody's entitled to have their opinion, but like, especially their wrong opinion. In this case, like, I mean, obviously, this person. Sorry. To reiterate what I said earlier, this person is 100% correct, but like most people are definitely wrong about what they decide to write on the internet. And if you don't take the approach that you're right about everything, I mean, what are you even doing on here?
Exactly. Guys, moving on here. April Fool's was last week. We were going to do a thing where we would just play every single story completely straight. Like, it was like actually true news things. But this year there was only like 4, maybe 5 April Fool's stories that kind of came out. I think everyone is just real sick of life right now, and we don't need that kind of evil in the world. But there was 1 or 2 that we had out there that we super enjoyed. The April Fool's jokes came in strong and hard last week with HGTV star and Frontline event manager Kicker Clausey kicking it off with this, letting us know the Arctic Open 1C was coming as a super major to Fairbanks, Alaska, December 30th to 31st. Mike, you're in Alaska. Danny, you were. Guys, why is this just offensive?
Arctic.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
One, because if there was an event held here, it would be Anchorage. I love the guys in Fairbanks. So many good guys up there. There's no way people are going up to Fairbanks. It can be the biggest tournament in the world. Just not worth it. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, yeah, nobody wants to go to a garbage town with garbage players to play in an event. But more importantly, like, he spelled Arctic wrong. Like, I got so mad when I saw that. Like, I was like, what is he even doing? Like, I mean, if you're gonna make a joke, like, fact check yourself, like a small amount, right? And
buddy, this event was so much of a joke that it wasn't even worth hitting spell check on. Like, let that sink in. The idea of a super major in Alaska doesn't warrant a spell check.
Man, that makes me sad on a deep level.
On a deep level. And I will say it is a garbage town with garbage people. All the good ones move south. Love you, Tim. So, speaking of things that should be real, FLG also shared this new product. Frontline Gaming's deodorant, gaming brand deodorant, Champions of Odor, which, guys, to me makes it seem like they win at smelling. Mike, what has been kind of the worst hygiene situation you've had at an event? Because there's some kind of stereotype that these gamers might not be the cleanest people. What's been the worst situation for you at the table? You're like, oh, well, maybe I'll just concede.
So remember, it was one of the first GTs I attended. And the round had finished up. I really had to go to the bathroom. I drank too much water during the event. Pro tip, everyone, drink a lot of water during events. I was really waiting to go to the bathroom. And there's only one bathroom at the event for whatever reason. And I waited, knocked on the door, was waiting, totally fine, played around my phone. Person comes out. It's a friend. You say hi. Not much interaction to have at the moment. They walked away. I walked in. And I swear to God, I walked in and that smell, literally, I physically recoiled. Like I basically jumped backwards out of the bathroom. And I was sitting there and I was ready to explode at that point. I had to decide, like, was standing in that bathroom for the next minute or two worth potentially having this publicly embarrassing situation? And I decided there was nothing that could possibly happen that would be worse than having to go into that bathroom after. Thankfully, everything worked out. There was a deli next door or something. But I remember sitting there thinking, like, am I really going to go ahead and publicly have to piss my pants to avoid going into the bathroom after him? And I decided that, yes, there was nothing possibly worse that could happen.
I will say, you did just extol the virtues of drinking lots of water at an event, and then immediately followed it up with an idea of why it's a bad idea to drink lots of water at an event.
No, it's still a good idea to drink lots of water. It's not a good idea to drink genuinely insane amounts of water, like I was doing at the time. That's fair. There's a healthy in between somewhere.
Danny, what about you? What are some hygiene emergencies you've had?
Well, I mean, I haven't had hygiene emergencies, I feel like, but I mean, as a man who sweats a lot, I definitely second the drinking water thing. I'm well known for that, actually. But that being, and of course, deodorant is important too, right? The worst thing I've seen is for an individual player to be asked to put his shoes on during an event. Like that happened. And then during the same event, and this, like, the person was going to the restroom, like the public restroom, with no shoes on.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's bad. Straight up took some. I'm not proud of this. I mean, I'm a little proud of this, but we took some of those. You know, the magic guy who was doing the praying thing. Yeah, and taking pictures of people's butt cracks. Well, that definitely happened to this person during the event. So it was just a classy time all around. Come to a tournament in Alaska, but pull up your pants and wear shoes.
Yeah, we'll do things with got people banned from playing Magic competitively to you.
Its home is now Warhammer 40,000.
Guys, not to be outdone, the Army Painter let us know that scented paint was coming with their hopefully fake Scents of War range. Starting with you here, Mike. What would the worst smelling paint color be?
I would say probably actually a Blood for the Blood God type paint that actually smelled like dried blood. I don't know if you actually smell dried blood in large quantities. It is physically repulsive. We don't need to go.
Why did you move to Alaska again, Mike?
About a year. about a year and a half ago. I'll let you know.
So yeah, that copper tinged Blood for the Blood God style thing. Danny, what's the worst painted paint color?
I can tell you right now that the original batch of oh man, what were those? They were the one coat super thick pigment paints. They smelled so bad when you opened them. Like I had a Deneb stone that smelled so terrible. Like it smelled awful when I opened up the pot. I can tell you right now, that was the worst smelling paint I've ever smelled.
Terrible. Moving on. Oh, gross. I got coppery smells now. One joke, however, that stuck was squats. Now reborn as the League of Votan. And if you do interact with me on the internet, I will actually correct you every single time you say squats to the League of Votan. It is not funny, but by the time I keep doing it for I think Danny, a year, maybe a year and a half, that's when it starts getting funny. But anyway,
guys, I'm telling you, this is the stuff that I try and prevent happening. But John doesn't let jokes go. They'll just keep going. he'll do the same joke for a year until it's funny, and then it eventually will be funny. Like, you're gonna laugh whether you like it or not. So
guys, I've turned talking about the TV character Frasier from the TV show Frasier into a joke. Years of doing it. I've turned Nick Nanavati standing in front of me in a bar line into a joke. And it took a couple of years, but we got there. Much like this show, it takes a long time, but hopefully it'll be funny at some point. But this guy here was not happy about it. We have a lot of people not happy about the League of Votann coming. He says, yet another army before all the current armies have received the 9th Codex. 40k is already bloated and unbalanced enough, and now another army. It seems like GW doesn't really care about making a good balanced game, but just pushing more models without interest for their current customers who have already spent a lot of money and still have received the Codex. I'm going to just jump in here real quick. They don't care about making a balanced game. They want to make some beautiful models that people hopefully buy, and they're going to balance it to the point where people stop yelling at their interns through email. But guys, what are your thoughts on this new army announcement, especially kind of before every Codex is updated? Starting with you, Danny.
Well, I'm sad I can't use the term squatted on stuff anymore. Like, it's just
Votanned.
It's not real. Votanned.
Votanned. The army gets
Votanned. John, they are still squats. That's just the imperial slur for their race.
That's right. They got Votanned. Or leagued. They got small leagued.
Leagued?
Yeah.
Big leagued? Yeah, or small leagued.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think they're going to have Scottish accents? I mean, they definitely did in the preview. How does that make you feel?
They did in the preview. Yeah, that's. I mean, essentially, like, and we were talking about this earlier in the week, and I dug up an old post from Jervis Johnson, one of the founders of Warhammer, about why they didn't have squats in second edition. Like, they made the Rogue Trader models. There's rules for them in the second edition box. And essentially it came down to the fact that they couldn't do them justice because what they had come out with, like the weird trikes with the big things, was just dwarfs but in space. And then that wasn't something that interested them, or something that they didn't know where to take the army from. So I'm hoping this time, like, I don't want the Scottish accents, because if we get to a point where the army is just dwarfs in space, which I know, Danny, you have some fun memories, but the Mantic space dwarf range is absolutely terrible. This is hot fire here. And you don't even have to fund a Kickstarter to get my opinion on that.
Unlike Mantic, that was a joke.
Unlike Mantic,
doing Kickstarters for everything.
Their business model. But it's just sci-fi dwarfs, and I have no interest in playing against just sci-fi dwarfs. Why would you put a metal beard on your dreadnought? It's just sort of weird. Like, Lego Movie did it better. So like, that's why when I saw this initial model come out, where it's just the single one, like, I was excited because it doesn't look like a dwarf. It looks like a worker or a miner or something. It looks like something futuristic and different. And you can have classical dwarf elements of the short legs, the beards, things like that. But it doesn't have to be great hair, but it doesn't have to be just a straight ripoff of a dwarf. Mike, what's your take on that range?
Yeah, I feel like at this point, dwarf stereotypes are just so... Okay, for example, we have Fire Slayers in Age of Sigmar. Definitely not classical dwarfs in any sense. Like, the fan base is still making, like, Book of Grudges jokes all the time. I feel there's, like, 5 dwarf references and jokes that, like, everyone knows, and they just can't collectively let go. So yeah, if like, the League of Votann is actually, like, an interesting sci-fi race, I'm all for it. But if there's just more dwarf stereotypes, and I have to hear, like, oh, that's going in the Book of Grudges every time I kill one of their models again for another 3 decades or whatever, that would be unfortunate.
I think the important takeaway here is it's you, the player, that makes this unbearable. So really, it's up to you how this army is received.
John, this is the perfect army for you. If you keep telling the same joke over and over again for years, people are going to find you saying, like, this is going in the Book of Grudges, like, amusing at some point, right?
Yeah, that's how you win LVO. It's just by bad jokes.
It's jokes.
It's jokes. You just make your opponent laugh so hard they clock out, and you're like, "Ha, I got you." You laugh on your own time.
It's true.
Guys, we're so close here. Finally, this one kind of stood out to me here. It's a health and safety warning here with a response from the media person of Frontline Gaming. A person asked here, can the mats, again, Frontline Gaming's mats, be put in the wash? How could I get that nasty residue off the back of the neoprene so my hands don't taste like hell after I roll the mats? To which Frontline responded, why are you rubbing your mats then tasting your hands? Daddy,
fair question.
Fair question. We all have these mats. Have you ever, like, I don't know, decided to rub them and see what they tasted like?
Well, I mean, I've definitely eaten a meal off of a Frontline gaming mat before. Just maybe not directly, but I put a plate on top of one and eaten something. But I don't think I've like massaged the mat and then eaten like hot wings or something. Is that what's happening in this scenario?
I don't know. And I did ask you not to eat hot wings on my table, and now that my snow-capped mountains are in fact all covered in wing sauce.
Perfect. Really keeps the terrain from sliding around is what I heard.
Keeps the terrain from sliding around. Guys, we're going to log out here in a second. We should all rejoice. The league is over. Our last picture here is this beautiful boy with his League of Votan, StarCraft 2 inspired. It all went full circle. Space Marines to StarCraft to League of Votan. What are your takes on the design aesthetic of these guys? Starting with you, Mike.
I think they're interesting. I just want to see them get weird, you know? Like, people think they're afraid to get too weird. Like, they're all going to be like kind of like very human-esque dwarves. I just want them to do just like wild stuff. Just like, I can't even think of anything right now off the top of my head. I just don't want them to like play it safe, you know? Also, I want the miniatures. I want your fingers to taste good after holding the miniatures, but that's too much.
That's important too.
Yeah. When no one discusses what the taste of your fingers is like with these new models. It's not just the design aesthetic anymore. Danny, what's the craziest? What is the craziest Votan model you want to see out of this new range?
Well, I think this model. First of all, this model is crazy enough. Like, look at him. He's got. In the 41st millennium, they definitely haven't outlawed like the toe shoes. Like that's something that they're just going to.
I never noticed that he's wearing. That's so disgusting.
And then also, like, I really like the futuristic design. I think he's got a flamer. I feel like that's what that weapon is. Like it's kind of just got like a bunch of extra pieces bolted onto it to make it look more futuristic than the normal like Imperial flamer, which I like quite a lot. But yeah, no, I'm super excited for this faction. I think they look super cool. I'm stoked to see how big the beards get.
Mm-hmm. I will say, to kind of put this out here, the way that the Demurg, as they were sort of renamed before the Tyranids their homeworld and they became a space race, they kind of got tacked on to the Tau Empire as one of their sub things, and they helped them with ion technology. And if you look at the gun that the guy's holding, at the very back, there's a very Tau-esque circle. Right there. So I'm expecting some crazy guns, some crazy guys, and just all kinds of cyclic fun. Not for your fish go people anymore. Mike, thank you so much for coming on. Why don't you get your stuff plugged? Let everyone know where to find you.
Yeah, guys, absolute pleasure as always. If you want to see more chaos content, go ahead and hop over to warphammer.com, and that is warp horizontal hyphen thingy. I don't know what it's called. I think it's
dash,
hyphen, right?
I think it's dash. Yeah.
Horizontal dash warp !hammer.com. Lots of great articles, lots of great videos. Got a great Discord. Got a great Patreon. If you want some personal chaos lists or coaching, if you just want to talk about chaos, hop on in. Lots of great resources, and we're all pretty excited about these upcoming books. I seriously can't wait. Chaos Knights are gonna be a ton of fun. CSM are gonna be a ton of fun, and I know Demons are gonna do something really wild. So can't wait.
Yeah, exciting few months. Danny, anything you want to throw in here before we sign on out?
No, I'm good. Thanks for coming on, Mike. We really enjoyed having you.
Appreciate it.
John. Pleasure as always. And John, hope to see you at some of these Anchorage tournaments soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited to probably bring you back on here when Chaos Knights have their moment in the sun, as Warhammer community is probably hinting that that's going to be pretty soon here. That's very exciting. Well, guys, another great week in Grim After Dark. Thank you so much for coming on here. Thank you to Mike for coming in. Some great community content. Please, guys, 5-star reviews on iTunes. Only copy pastes of that very accurate opinion. We really appreciate that. We will be back next Monday. So until then, we'll see you Monday.